I know. Hey, welcome back, everybody. And guess what? We've got some continuous news, and it's talking about how home sales are looking to rise by 6% by the end of 2025. And you're like, what? Wait a second. I thought you said last week that everything was going down with the Titanic. No. Remember, there's a lot of sensationalism out there in the market. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on. We're going to go through those consistent metrics. We're going to slam a government entity down in Olympia for not necessarily misinformation, but definitely 100% misleading information. That's going to be at the end. In the meantime, let's get the show on the road. All right. So we go through these same metrics, residential only. Condos most of the time improve the numbers, but because we deal with a constant residential single-family homes, this way each and every week you guys can make a really solid bit of information. Now, the really good part is we do include condo feedback when it becomes a little bit outside of the box. This way people can, again, make good decisions. So when we pop in, home sales expected to rise 6% in 2025 despite persistent headwinds. And this is an article from Kristen Smithberg, and she just did this one just the other day, like yesterday, and super interesting enough. Redfin is also saying, like we showed last week, home buyers see a little bit of a price reduction, meaning that with more inventory coming online, are we seeing a little bit better buyer opportunities? And that answer is yes, but if we pop back here and we take another look at another Redfin statistic, so I couldn't get the whole chart in here, not that it was necessary, 50 of the best markets. Here we go. We got Seattle, right? And you can see that it shows as a buyer's market, which I'm not sure 100% agree with that. But you can see that just below that, two spaces, it says it's a balanced market. And that's kind of what we were talking about and are talking about, is that we are seeing not the pendulum on the seller side, not the pendulum definitely on the buyer side. It is definitely more towards center. We're going to go through our local metrics, and I'm going to show you basically why I think we are, again, for the last few months, been a more balanced market. But take a look at this. This is super important. Now, they say right now the big S is a seller, right? There's 9,052 single-family sellers. But look at that. We have 8,170 buyers. Well, I'm not a math genius, but if all the buyers buy everything that's listed, we won't have anything left. That's pretty balanced to me. So nonetheless, they do have, and I read how they came across our metrics, and I think their concept is there. I just wonder sometimes if they base it solely on pendant, does that give a true depiction of where we're at? I don't think so. I think there's another criteria that they should pull in, and I think that would show that we are not 11% leaning towards buyers, which is not a whole heck of a lot, but it's going to bring it a little bit closer to zero. Again, not that it matters. What does matter is that we're not heading up, we're not heading down. I'm saying we're very flat, which some people say, George, if you're flat, you're kind of going down. Well, we're kind of staying the course. We're just tiny bit up. Like on a treadmill, you're like 0.5%. Anyway, let's get on to what Mr. Yoon says when he talks about it. He says shelter costs. And by the way, super important to understand, there's a lot of tariffs and conversation, and it's kind of taking the limelight along with the little love spat between President Trump and Elon Musk. And I'm sure that they'll figure something out, as they always do. But here's the funny thing. Wood construction products or home building products actually have come down. They haven't gone up. They've actually come down. And that's a misconception sometimes that is out there when they talk about all the tariffs. And in fact, my folks at Plywood Supply that send me a report each and every week, we're about $660 less for just a framing lumber package for a 2,700 square foot house, which is their constant. We're actually less than we were a few months ago. So anyway, there you go. All right, let's delve back into this. So Mr. Yoon, super nice guy. He says, luckily, shelter cost is trending down, like we just discussed, from its recent cyclical peak. In addition, job growth has exceeded pre-pandemic highs, and wage growth at 3.8% has outpaced the consumer price index. Now, what's important about that is the jobs report came out, and it came out better than expected. And so even though rates had started going back down, all of a sudden, boom, we get a good jobs report, whoop, and they kind of blipped back up just a couple of basis points, not a whole lot, but they blipped back up because we were heading in a really, really pleasant downward trend. And so that's what happens, and that's what he's talking about. So when we come in here, there's a light at the end of the tunnel based on recent rises in mortgage applications, and it's waned a little bit. Moreover, I saw the majority of renters express a desire to own a home, and that is 100% yes. We have a lot of folks out there that want to own a home. And in fact, it's funny enough, the new first-time home buyer is now 30 years old. They're not in their 20s anymore. That's a significant jump. And I want to say it's like 8-year jump that took that kind of into the higher above mid 30s. And that's a little disheartening. And our area is tougher to buy a home. There's no bones about it. We are even still one of the 5 sweet spots across the United States. And that still poses a problem because people don't care. It's what's in their pocketbook and what can they do. So what are they recommending? Well, they're recommending, you scale back a little bit on your perception of what you want. The median house will climb by 3% this year and 4% next year. I think that's going to be a little bit higher in our area. Despite persistent headwinds, existing home sales are set to increase by 6% this year and 11% next year. I would say that is very accurate on a bigger scale, meaning outside of our economy, and I think it is going to be very consistent with ours. Here's the thing: if we get mortgage rates to drop at or below 6.5%, get out of the way. Because people are going to go out there and they are going to lock in. Why? Just take a look at the number of showings still, the number of homes that are still going off market and coming on. We'll go through that momentarily. All right. Mortgage rates are still the magic bullet. I 100% agree. And we're waiting for those to come down. Yoon said. He says he predicted mortgage rates to be an average of 6.4%. I'm saying about 6.5% over the remainder of 2025 and fall to 6.1% next year. Now, part of the delay is a recovery from the Federal Reserve. Remember, the Federal Reserve does not control mortgage rates, but they can affect them. Because remember, it's people that are buying and selling, bonds. Yes, it's out on the public stock market, and that is what rates do. The Feds change rates once every 6 weeks. Mortgage rates go up and down multiple times a day, just like the stock market does. Yes, mortgage rates are the key factor for us, hands down right now. So if we take a look at some of the other news that's out there, application demand ebbs for both purchase and refis in that upper left-hand corner. Yes, because rates have gone up on the right-hand side. You can see that yesterday when we had the response to the jobs report, they expected it to be worse than it was. It was better than it was supposed to be. And of course, everybody pulled out of bonds. Bonds then fell in value and mortgage rates went up. Okay, bottom left. Housing market sentiment is improving, but buyers are still waiting for mortgages to drop. 100% agree with that, because right now we can watch how the buyers interact, and it is solely based on mortgage rates. Now, we did great up until this last little bit. In fact, if we open up Freddie here, you can see how we peaked and we started going down, and they're just not showing that upward trend yet because their 7-day running average is lagging just a little bit. But here's the thing: we were heading down, boop, and we popped back up briefly, but I think we will head back down again. And I do think that we're going to get into the mid 6s. And I do think we are going to absolutely draw down some of that inventory because people want to own a home. They want that security. It's Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Shelter is one of the most important ones, albeit the cost of shelter as far as a percentage to your income is the most dominant expense. And so that's something that we want to keep in mind, and it should not exceed 43%. Sometimes it does. All right, let's talk about a running 7-day average. Here we go. New on market, 1,343 homes came on market. Right on. 1,251 went pending. Well, gosh, that's like 95 homes, 94, 96 homes. I mean, that's not significant. That's pretty small potatoes, all things considered. When we take a look at the fact that we have a lot of activity that's rolling around, remember, to be super accurate, make sure that you're tuning in each week. Get the real information for our area. It doesn't matter what's happening in Florida and Texas and Arizona. They do not have an impact on us at all. And we are, again, just one of the better markets. So just keep that in mind. So let's talk a little bit about the Northwest MLS. And you're saying, George, you're saying the glass is half full. Yes, I am. So that red circle is the number of pending homes, as you can see, is heading in a, positive direction. Yes, you can tell by the light green bar that we had a massive influx of listings, which is, oh my gosh, so long overdue. So when we take a look at it, that middle center lower chart talks about month over month. That's the month of May. Okay, look at that. Oh yeah, 41% increase in homes. That's because it's been so low, but even still, that is an amazing number because that's 5,000 homes. It's really, we're about 3,000 to, 20. So we're at 22. So anywhere between, 3,000 and 5,000 homes less historically than where we should be. Now, when we take a look at what happened with our numbers at the end of the month, we were 378 homes off target from where we were at last year, and but we're up 434 homes than where we were at last year as far as pending. So sales year to date, here, let's pop over. Sales years to date, hey, here's the funny thing. We're 1.7 homes, or 1.7% off or ahead of the number of sales that we had last year. Now, we're also 2.1% above the pending, but we're only 23% adjustment, or roughly about 3,000 homes, what we mentioned, from where we were at or should have been at. And so that's a good news for a lot of buyers. And then, of course, as we recap what's going on down below. Now, if we head over and we talk about the actual sold versus active, the average sold is up 1%. So again, super flat. That's the bottom right. The center chart, we're up, for the month, we're up 6.6%. And you might say, George, man, those are only the numbers to the fifth. That's correct, because we have a lot of carryover from the end of May. End of May numbers were doing really well at the end of the month until month end, and then we had a few closings and whatnot to carry over, which bolstered the early months, activity, and that's why we're seeing that nice increase. Now, that doesn't mean that June's going to absolutely fall off. In fact, it's just the opposite. And I say that because as we even take a look at new construction, you talk about flat, kind of a declining flat of anything. Inventory is increasing. Pended is, again, super flat. Nothing super exciting is happening there. In fact, when we take a look at it, fortunately, they're not the 34% less than what they were. They've recovered quite a bit. They're only 11.3% less than where they should have been. That's about 400-ish homes, 350-ish homes. And then, of course, pended is, that's down just a few hundred homes. Close to about 700 homes. So when we take a look at everything that's going on the new construction side, those guys are suffering just a tad bit. Not horrible, but they're still trying to play catch up. Most people are saying, well, why? If we have this mass demand and new construction, there's that premium. Why? Because we have so many resale homes that have come on the market that is pulling the buyers' way because they get better locations, they get bigger yards. Many of those sellers have updated their homes, and so they're able to get into a really great area, really great home that is bigger, and they pay less. That's a big deal. And so that's why builders have had to, be a little bit more creative. So when we pop back in here and we take a look at our numbers on the big scale, look at the end of May, which is the bottom. you can see, hey, you know what? They actually did not so bad, even though we had, about I would say, what is that? A 700 home increase in inventory across Washington state. For the actual month itself, there was just a modest increase. Number of sales, again, we're looking something at around 90-ish homes. And then, of course, just shy of 100. And again, on the pendant, again, just shy of 100. That's for the entire month. 3/4 of Washington state, it's not monumental. Sure, we always like to see numbers on the positive side, right? So when we go and we take a look at what's actually happening sales-wise, look, we're up 16.1% year over year with the median price of $1,104,000. On the year to date, on the right-hand side, again, we're still up 2.7% at an average price or median average price of $946,000 versus $921,000. So we're still seeing some positive numbers there, and that's super important to understand. Yes, new construction is still a good value. Yes, they are definitely going flat, maybe that 1/4% down where the resales are 0.5% up. But anyway, still more flat than anything else, right? Okay, let's talk a little bit about, I don't get on my soapbox very often. It's kind of frustrating. I'm going to show you a couple of metrics here, and then I'm going to explain why I got a little irritated with Olympia again and their self-serving selves. Anyway, here, big picture, right? So 2007 on the far left, 2025, that big spike that you see, those are VA loans. Not sure why that big spike. They're still taking a look at it. It was FHA took as equally a big increase, all things considered, but you can tell by that chart, it's pretty small. Conventional loans is the orange ones, and that's pretty low, right? So when we talk about it literally on a big scale, look, we're down 2 basis points for delinquency rate, right? And we're talking about serious delinquency, and those are loans that are 90 days plus delinquent, not 30 days, not 60 days, 90 days, 3 months, okay? On the big scale, it looks at this, you're like, oh my gosh, look at that, 50% increase. Holy crap. But wait a second. We're going to go over those numbers and show you something that's a little more realistic. The number of loans in active foreclosure is still 32% below pre-pandemic levels, okay? So when we talk about where we are at, right, the highlighted, the 5 states with the fewest, we're the bottom at 2%. We're the bottom, right? On the right, okay, mortgage delinquency rate saw a decline, with the overall delinquency rate decreasing by 7.31% compared to the previous quarter. Okay, serious delinquency rates decreased by 0.57 in April, down from 0.59 in March. Now you might say, George, what the heck? Why are you getting on your soapbox here? Why are you getting all riled up? Because there's an organization unnamed in Olympia that's using that. Oh my gosh, we have foreclosures are up by 50%. Oh my gosh, we need to fund this big action and save people. And I'm not saying that people don't need to be saved. Sometimes there's a reason that is outside of our control, because you know what? It's not our job to save everybody. Some people just make bad choices. I'm sorry, but when you deal with tiny little numbers, and those tiny little numbers go up a little bit, like if I go from 5 to 10, well, that's a 100% increase. That's monumental. If I go from 5 to 8, oh my gosh, that's like a 50% increase, almost a 60% increase. All right, but is that statistical number accurate? So I'm not saying they gave misinformation, because it is accurate. It's misleading information that they use to get funds, again, taking away funds from other necessary places for something that is erroneous, in my humble opinion. All right, so when we come over and we take a look at, that's the number of foreclosures you see, which is like negligible, okay? And where they look at their numbers is this. Look, there was a 13 home difference technically between last year and this year. And those numbers are super, super tiny, super tiny. In fact, what's super funny is they didn't even exclude the misrepresented listings, meaning the listings that are not REOs. They were just had the wrong box checked. And that's not even included in their numbers, which again tells me that it was absolutely misleading information because our foreclosures are minimal. We are one of we are the lowest. We're the bottom of the barrel for actual foreclosures. We're one of the lowest for delinquency rate. And for them to come back and say, oh my gosh, it's Mayhem and metal, it's cycling down, is horsepucky. Anyway, get your story straight out there, people. Anyway, be careful of the misinformation. Make sure you're watching this channel. Smash the subscribe button. Look, get some good, solid information. There's no marketing here. It's not, I'm not reading something. I'm just giving it to you as we do every single week. In the meantime, it's beautiful outside. Have a beautiful day. I will see you on the next video. Take care.